Welcome to our introductory seminar on digital transformation for business leaders. My name is Gideon Oforio-Sabute. I'm with IDEC Consultancy. We are going to discuss digital transformation for business leaders, and we are going to look at the implication of digital transformation, digital disruption for businesses and how it impacts their profitability and how really it changes the dynamics of existing industries and then upcoming industries. We're going to go on. And in our presentation today, we are going to look at some definitions of digital transformation. We'll look at the concept between digitalization and then digitization. We'll also look at, why digital transformation at all? And then we'll look at digital disruption. We'll look at trending technologies. We'll look at some e-commerce and then the upcoming after, the African free continental trade area. We'll look at opportunities in that area, linking it up with the upcoming or new technologies. And then we'll look at one major important area that as IDEC and as a Digital Excellence Center, we specialize in. Basically we are talking about implementing a digital transformation strategy. And then we will have a look at a short video on digital transformation, just to have a very good pictorial understanding of what we'll be discussing. We'll have some 5 minutes or 10 minutes reserved for our question and answer session. So thank you so much for joining our seminar today. I believe that we would have much enjoyable moment together. Okay, so some definitions. If you're really to define what digital transformation meaning is, what are we considering? Well, I will not go into technical definitions, but I'll try to raise cases and tell stories to bring out some of these concepts. So digital transformation, can be thought of as a process to ensure that a business has processes, has outcomes that leverages on technologies, okay? So that business can reap the benefits of technology. It's that simple, So you have a business, you want to know how you can leverage technology to enhance the value that you create for your customers, enhance the value of your business processes so that you can maximize time, you can reduce costs and stay competitive in the industry, because at the end of it all, it's about being competitive, staying relevant, and delivering the utmost benefits or satisfaction to your customers. And mind you, as you may know as business people, customers can be internal and you can also have external customers. So in a very simple term, it's all about ensuring that you have considered the processes of your business or your company, and you have ensured that you've leveraged technology to boost or to enhance the delivery of your service, or to enhance profitability and competitiveness in your industry. And it's as simple as that. So we all know sometimes we get a little bit confused. And of course, if you've been following the some of the political rhetoric. You can sometimes hear our own Vice President, Dr. Baumia, talking about digitization. And of course, he's always talking about this digitization. That's a great thing. And yes, we get the impression that all is about digital. But when you talk about digital transformation, we can talk about digitization and also talk about digitalization. There are differences, when it comes to these particular terms. So look at it this way: digitization mainly is about you having, existing processes that are manual. So it requires a lot of time and man hours to deliver such processes. All right. And then you would, look, sit back and then consider how you can bring technology to bear on that manual system. And the moment you move from manual system to an automated system, all right? So, for example, if you're a bank and you have a tellering system that um, people would tellers would have to call in customers, okay, when they are ready. And now you introduce a system whereby there's an automated queuing system. So you have equipment or technologies that even mentions or that tells the customer when the teller is ready. This scenario tells you that you've moved from manual operational system where a teller would normally be calling out the next customer, when they're ready, to a system where it is automated. So the moment the teller is ready, the customer gets notified, and usually it can show on an LED screen in the banking hall, or you can use automated voice system where the teller will tell you where the customer will hear, teller 4 is available for the next customer, please. And then the customer will follow suit. So that is a simple scenario to explain the concept of digitization, where you look at existing processes that is usually done manually, and then you automate it, okay? And then you automate it. On the other hand, if we talk about digitalization, mainly what you're referring to is you using innovative approaches, okay, to bring about something new or to offer something new to your customers, okay, leveraging technology. So that means that you can look at web technology and how you can leverage web technologies to enhance the services that you provide for your customers, right? So it's about creating new opportunities using technology, okay, as against existing systems that you bring automation, systems to bear. Okay, that is digitization. By digitalization, when you always talk about digitalization, you can talk about or refer to using technology to innovate, okay, to bring about new value or new systems. So that's about it, when you talk about digitization versus digitalization. Next, we will talk about one major important aspect when it comes to digital transformation, and you would refer to digital disruption. You understand? So mainly, most of us would have to be concerned as business leaders, mainly because of the nature of digital disruption. All right. Now, when we talk about digital disruption, it's mainly talking about how suddenly or creepingly. Now, note the two words that I use, suddenly or creepingly. Now, suddenly is where in a very short span, you can see an industry turning, all right? And I'm going to use one particular case to explain this. Now, if you look at the retail industry, okay, if you talk about the American economy, you can refer to Walmart, which was a retailer, a giant retail company. And this retail company for so many years, has been a very profitable company with, and to the extent that it was even embedded in the culture of Americans. Americans like to shop. And so if you needed anything, you would just drive to your mall and get your items. And so, per the modus operandi of Walmart, they had to open several physical stores, you understand, to ensure that they're meeting the needs of their customers. So customers would drive in, they would park, the vehicles, they would move to these shops and then get their groceries, get whatever items that they had. And then suddenly, well, was it sudden? We also observed Amazon coming into the system. Now, Amazon, as you know, started selling books online, and then eventually it moved from books and then included other items. And now, the rest is history. We all know that Amazon sells anything from A to Z. You get it. So in terms of digital disruption, that's what happened. Now, Walmart as a retailer, was still focusing on the physical delivery of products to customers. And then technology happened, and Amazon now had to leverage on digital platforms, mainly using web technologies, e-commerce to deliver goods to its customers. I'm sure when Amazon started, the leaders or the directors or the decision makers of Walmart, didn't take it serious. They didn't know how this will eventually come to impact or disrupt the whole industry. So they looked on, and then Amazon grew in size, in size, and in size. And now, what do we observe? We can see that people, um, in the convenience or from the convenience of their own or from the comfort of their own homes, would be able to just go to their computers and or their mobile phones and order anything. Now, mind you, this was happening only in the US at the time it began. You understand? But what do we see now? We now see that the impact of Amazon is almost now worldwide. That I could sit in Ghana and shop for my children. If I have children who are in the US, I could sit here and shop for the items to be delivered to them. But meanwhile, I'm here. In the same vein, I could also shop for items to be delivered to me in Ghana. You understand? So, in terms of digital disruption, if you consider these case critically, that is Walmart versus Amazon, you would observe that Walmart had a traditional way of delivering goods to its customers, and that was via their physical centers, their physical distribution centers. You're talking about distribution channels. You're talking about stores. You're talking about malls. You understand? And then Amazon leveraged the e-commerce platform to offer the same service to customers to the extent that Amazon upped the game of providing convenience to customers, all right? So that it made it possible for customers to sit in their homes or in their offices and order items to be delivered to them, all right? I'll come back to this case and let you know how this digital disruption can make sometimes traditional ways of doing things redundant, and then it has a repercussion of driving down the profit of your business, driving down, and eventually, if you're not lucky, then it will wipe you out. You understand? So it tells you that digital disruption is one of the major reasons why business leaders must pay attention to digital transformation. Because if you're in an industry and you sat down aloof without critically engaging with the trends of your industry and knowing how technology impacted your industry, it's just a matter of time, you understand? And then you would realize that the traditional ways of doing things are no more relevant, that most value in terms of serving customers have been moved to the digital platform, such as e-commerce platforms using internet technology. So if you follow the case, that is mainly what we mean by digital disruption. That means that upsetting the status quo, the traditional ways of doing things, using digital platforms. We'll come back and then talk about why we need to have a digital strategy, all right? And please, as you follow this discussion or this presentation, mainly what we are trying to communicate, or I'm trying to communicate, is one particular skill. Okay, it's not about knowing about all the technologies because they will come and go, but it's about one particular skill. And that skill is an attitude, okay? An attitude that business leaders must have, right? That they must be technology aware and technology sensitive in their industries so that they will be able to sift out or observe and then adapt appropriately. Now let's come down to our local economy. You're talking about the economy of Ghana, you're talking about our country. Now you would observe recently that graphic communications, the producers of daily graphic, have had to contend with the change or with the tide of technology. And if you've been observing, you now know that the GCL, which is Graphics Communication Limited, now has the graphic news app, okay, as a new channel of selling their products. You understand? So they now have an app on the mobile phone that you can, instead of going to buy your regular paper, you can sit home, you can sit in your office and order the digital version of your daily graphic of your graphic business. You understand, at a lesser price, compared to going for the hard or the paper. So this is what happened. Now you would observe that graphic is trying to adapt to the nature of digital revolution. You understand? And definitely, I would also come to a point where when it comes to digital transformation, you can either be a laggard, means that you wait until things you try to observe and then try to see how the innovation of technology will go before you would react. In that case you can be referred to as a laggard. You understand? So because we don't have time, we won't be able to have a lot of discussion, but then play it out in your mind and please answer the question. Do you think that graphic is a laggard or champion? You understand? Because listen, New York Times and some of the major news companies all over the world had migrated to technology platforms. You understand? Now most of them are using their website as a way of disseminating their news items, and they are focusing less and less on the paper. And this has been happening in the past 4 to 5 years, you understand? So for graphic now to have the news app, we just must answer the question whether the Graphic Communications Limited is a laggard or a champion. Now, a champion would be a company that moves with the times or a little bit ahead of the times. They would anticipate possible benefits from technology and then deploy technology to their advantage. Um, so would also, when it comes to digital disruption, now that you understand what this digital disruption is, knowing that it means upsetting the traditional ways of doing things using technology. And we've seen in the case of Walmart and then Amazon, how Amazon, took a chunk of Walmart's market share when it comes to retailing. And then in terms of our local example, we can talk about the Daily Graphic that now has migrated or has an extended channel of providing news to their customers. Okay, so they have the graphic news app. Now, when it comes to digital disruption, there are two things that you can look at in your industry. So when we are observing your industry for changes, okay, you can think about it in two ways, all right? One way is observing trends in your own industry. Let's say the hotel industry and how the hotel industry is being impacted by new technology, all right? So a typical example, if you're in the hotel industry, you will now observe that there's a company called Airbnb that has leveraged technology to make it possible for travelers all over the world to be able to secure very cheap accommodation. Okay. So instead of people going to hotels, people can book private rooms of people all over the world, okay, on this platform. So your Golden Tulip, you are so your Golden Tulip or your any other hotel, and you are sitting there, right, and not considering what is happening in your industry, you realize that, you probably would be affected because you might have some of your clients preferring, to use the Airbnb platform, right, to book private rooms in people's homes. And the moment Airbnb launched, you understand, you realize that the market is also adapting. You have players who have private homes, private rooms, also coming into the system and adjusting to meet the needs of international travelers. So if people are looking for the same experience or the posh experience that they would gain from going to Golden Tulip, they're likely to get that from a customer who is also investing in his own private apartment to ensure that they give the utmost luxury to customers. So in explaining the concept of observing your own industry, that is one industry that you are in, that you find your business in. This is an example, you understand. Another important scenario where you would have to observe trends of technology is looking at the impact of another or of linked industry. So if you're in the hotel industry, for example, you probably might want be concerned about what is happening in the aviation industry or in the transport sector, all right? Because you never know. Whatever might happen in the transport sector might eventually, come to harm you. Or let's say that you are a service provider and you provide services to companies in the hospitality industry. So let's say you are the company offering catering services, or supplying um, groceries or foodstuffs, or ingredients to Golden Tulip, okay? And you have that contractual relationship with them. If you are not observing what is happening in other industries, if you are not observing what is happening in the hotel industry and then its onward impact on your own business, all right, then you would think that, oh, Airbnb is going to impact the hotel industry. And my industry is remote from the is remote. If you consider the hotel industry, it is remote. But you realize that what is going to affect the hotel industry might have impact on you. So assuming you are a company that provides other services, it could be staffing, okay, services, recruitment services for the hotel industry. And if you're not observing trends in the hotel industry and how it can impact on your own local industry, you might lose out. Okay. So a practical way is, for example, if you are a company that plays vital role in the catering industry, all right, and that you provided um, services to the hotels, you realize that now Airbnb is changing the dynamic. So you would want to now consider how you can come up with a backup strategy or an adaptive strategy to ensure that you um, can design or find ways and means of reaching out to service providers who have moved from the traditional platforms, okay, to the new platform. So you want to probably contact, private providers um, of rooms, or on Airbnb platform, so that you can create new channels to be able to provide catering services to them. You understand? So because of time, I can only talk about this simple example, but the import of the discussion here is that as leaders of our own businesses, we should not only focus on our industry when it comes to digital disruption, because the lesson here is that what impacts an industry that seems to be far from your industry can eventually have a ripple effect on your industry, especially if there's a strong linkage between your industry and that industry. So it behooves us as leaders to be generally aware of technological trends and how it's shaping other industries, so we can be on the alert and know how we can also start creating strategies to adapt to the situation, or to even take good advantage of the situation. So that's about digital disruption. And in fact, this is the single most important reason why you would want to consider, knowing about what digital transformation is and how you can adapt, and come up with strategies as a leader. We'll move on to a very important area when it comes to digital transformation. So basically, you would have to look at the trends in technology. And if we talk about digital transformation at all, what technologies are impacting the industries that we are in. So we've been talking about DT, that's the digital transformation. What technologies are really, creating the challenges that we think we might be facing, or the opportunities that we might be encountering. So we'll now move to the stage where we talk about some of the technologies that are trending and impacting industries. Yeah, so you have what we call big data, and you have artificial intelligence. So I'll take it one at a time. Now, if you talk about big data, we know that data is a very important element of businesses now. So you'd want to ensure that whatever data you have, you can extract value from the data to serve your customers better. So if you're in the finance industry or the banking industry, for example, you'd want to get information, okay, from the number of people who visit your retail outlets or your branches, all right? And then want to know the number of time each customer, or the number of hours, or the number of minutes each customer spends at your branch. You understand? Now, you need to save this data over time and be able to extract information from it to be able to come up with better ways of serving your customers. So in this scenario, when you extract the information or data on the number of hours your customers spent, at your retail outlets or your branch, you'd then want to come up with an algorithm, or a model, that explains, or even predicts the number of hours that customers will spend at each of your branches. That helps you in planning and even come up with new technologies that can inform your customers ahead of time the traffic situations that is likely to happen at your at your retail outlets or your branches. Okay. In doing so, you can think through um, innovations that you can come up with. And for example, you can come up with an alert system, SMS system that informs customers ahead of time that they will face so and so peak period, at your various branches. Because of that, they should be aware of it, and relate with the inconvenience that might cause them. When that happens, customers will then have the choice of going to the bank at the period when um, they'll face, lighter traffic. Okay, so that we all know that, seemingly simple innovations can impact on the customer experience. So this is one example we can talk about when it comes to big data. So big data is all about extracting data of your business and then, getting value from it, using the value to bring about new service or new product that will enhance the experience of your customer. So that's about big data. Now, we can also talk about artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence, AI, is sometimes a build-up on the big data. So artificial intelligence is a technology whereby you train systems, okay, to do a repetitive task over time. So again, in the banking industry, you would have intelligent systems, even like the ATM, that is able to do what a human being can do, understand? And this system is able to fall on data that has been fed to the system over time. So the machine is able to know that at this point in time, this is likely to happen and that is likely to happen. So this is the way I should behave. You understand? So when you bring this concept to service delivery, for example, you can come up with automated systems, software systems that can repeat tasks that is usually done in your business. And what happens is that this then helps you to save time, you understand, and eventually cuts down on the number of staff that you need to employ and rely upon. And mind you, as we've been saying, machines don't go on leave, they don't seek vacation, they don't complain, as against human beings. So I'm saying this knowing that there's also the debates of, the impact of AI on jobs. You understand that eventually is going to eliminate a lot of jobs. But if you're a business person, much as you would consider this debate, what you are most interested in ensuring you are most interested in posting, sustainable profits and good profit. When I say good profit, that means that you're doing a good business. You understand? So as a business person, of course, your interest would be to ensure that you use the AI technology, artificial intelligence technology, to accomplish some of your major tasks. Then you can also talk about machine learning. Now, machine learning is also linked to AI, all right? And is also again linked to big data or data science per se. Now, what it means is that you have a way of extracting again value from your data. Okay, so you have data on the day-to-day transactions of your business. Okay, so you know that this is what happens in department A, this is what happened in department B, and then you extract data from the transactions, right? And then you come up with what we call a model or an algorithm that can predict what will happen or that will explain what will happen at any point in time in your business service delivery or operations. Okay. So when we talk about machine learning, just be clear that we are not necessarily referring to machines per se. What we're referring to is data that you're able to extract some value from the data in terms of coming up with a model, okay? And this sometimes can be a mathematical model. And then this model has parameters. When you say parameters, the model is able to know that if A and B happens, then C is going to happen, you understand, in your business. And so the element of machine learning is when you continue to use several data, okay, different data sets to train your model. Now, training your model means that, okay, you have this data set, then you would apply it to the model and ensure that it's able to predict accurately, okay, what you perceive it to be able to do. You understand? And as you continue to apply the same or different set of data to the model also learns to do a better predictive job. You understand? So let me break it down in practical terms. So again, I'm referring to the banking sector because we've had a lot of technological changes in the banking sector. So if you want to know that a loan that you're providing a consumer might be move into a default, status at a particular time, you would extract data from historical records and then come up with your mathematical model, for example. And as you apply more and more of the data sets, okay, from various transactions, you would eventually be able to accurately predict that if in a year we provide credit to 1,000 consumers, we are setting that 10 or 5% of them will default. And the default is likely to happen at this particular time of the year. All right? And when it happens at this particular time of the year, it is likely to be from customers who have traits A, B, C, and D. You understand? And as you train the model with your data set, your model continues to learn and know at what point in time a customer is likely to default. So as a banking company, you would be able to then put in place certain interventions like calling your customers ahead of time and finding out what their challenges are so that you'll be able to solve, them. So when these three areas are linked, the big data, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, they are linked in a special way. At a point in time, they depend on each other. You understand? So when you talk about technologies and digital transformation, these three areas, big data, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, are key components or are key areas that a business person must consider, because with it you can use it to solve problems in your organization. You can use it to create new services for your customers, and you can use it to provide better services, to your customers, and therefore eventually impact on the bottom line, which is your profit. Next, we'll talk about cloud. Okay, so cloud services, we are talking about um, the ability to save data, okay, in the cloud. So literally, it means that you have a cloud somewhere and then you put your data there. Now, basically what we mean by cloud is that there are third-party companies, right, that have invested in big and large data systems, okay, and data facilities, data centers, whereby you can contract them to provide cloud service, meaning that instead of you investing so much in data systems locally, so you're a company and you, like, let's say you're a bank and you push so many transactions in a day. Now you need to save this data on your local server. But imagine that your operations keep, growing, and that investing in this data system will be quite a lot. It can be costly. You understand? You can contract a cloud company like IBM to say that, look, I'm not interested in investing in a data center now, or I'm not interested in buying tons and tons of servers in order to keep my data backed up or saved. Mind you, it's not only about investing in these facilities, it's also about maintaining them and also the security bit of it. So if you're a small company, you're a medium-sized company, or even a big company, you might want to avoid the troubles of investing in the data centers, investing in their maintenance, and most importantly, their security. And we'll come to cybersecurity, you understand? So cloud technology is now making it possible for companies or businesses to save their data, okay, with a third-party provider instead of they investing in their own, service, which can be costly. Now, if you have the assurance that you can have a data support service, using cloud services, it means that you can think of expanding whatever you're doing. If you're thinking of going on a e-commerce platform, you will not start to worry about how you're going to process your data, how you're going to keep your data. You understand? And so when it comes to you expanding and taking on more transaction, expanding your capacity to be able to process tons and tons of transactions, you then have the opportunity to contract a third person to provide you that cloud service where you can save your data and retrieve your data from them. So that is what we mean when we talk about cloud. Now, we also have blockchain. Now, blockchain also has an element of that is linked to artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data. Now, blockchain is a technology that enables you to encrypt information, you understand? And this is very important when it comes to contract situations or scenarios where you can have several contract agreements with several parties, and usually it can be customers, okay, whereby you'd be able to have a system where customers cannot or nobody can enter your system and change the nature of transaction, all right? And in this case, it's become very vital to use blockchain because of security systems, right? Providing codes for your customers, providing sensitive information for your customers. And it requires that you go by blockchain technology, which mainly is a way of encrypting information in such a way that it makes it impossible for anybody to delete or change the sequence of transaction. So that's a bit about blockchain technology and how it is being used. So if you hear about blockchain, they've been it is a technology deployed even in the financial sector. And now you can talk about virtual forms of money, and you can talk about bitcoins, you can talk about other forms of money. And technology wise, this is even safer than other forms of money because we're able to create a unique form of currency, and each currency has a code. You understand? So we're able to know the exact units of money we have at a particular point in time. So that's about blockchain. So its main applications in business is that you can use it for encryption purposes when it comes to agreements and several transactions with customers, using the online platform. We can also talk about cybersecurity. And cybersecurity now is vital because you cannot think about digital transformation without thinking about how you're going to secure your digital systems or your technology. So if you have data, you want to ensure that unauthorized persons won't have access to your information because you'll be moving most of your transactions online, okay, or onto digital platforms. We'd want to ensure that people cannot sit anywhere remote and enter your system to be able to steal information. You understand? Or most importantly, to be able to take private information of your customers. Because mind you, now because of the data privacy issues and laws, you as a business person would be required to protect information that customers give to you. So if you don't protect your systems, then you would have issues. You could face legal sanctions or legal suit because of that. So a major technological trend when it comes to digital transformation is cybersecurity. Okay, you need to ensure that you have the right systems that will protect your data from attacks and all that. Now, one or major area to consider when it comes to digital transformation is also design thinking, all right? And this sometimes can be a big changer. It can determine the, you know, companies that will succeed in the digital age, so what we mean by design thinking is that because now you're going to create value and have interface, technology interface between your customers and then your business, or even within your own company, between employees or users, you must at every point in time, before you implement any form of technology, ask yourself, who are going to be the users of this technology? And if they are going to use this technology, in terms of interface and design, is it going to be very appropriate for their use or convenient for their use? And a very short example I'll give is if you have a website and your customers go to your website, if it happens that they have to scroll through a lot of information before they get the vital information, like they just want to know about your company, and then they can't even find the about um, menu, it becomes a challenge. You understand? If your website is jammed up and you're providing an e-commerce service, for example, and people would have to buy online. Now, the moment they click on the item they want to buy, you take them to another page that requests information. They fill in the information, then you take them to another page that requires them to answer survey questions. Mind you, people don't have time. So this interface, because it's designed to waste customers' time, people wouldn't find success, people coming to your website more often. You understand? And internally, if you introduce technological systems to improve your operational processes, all right, you must ensure that employees or people who use these technologies are very comfortable with it. They don't face challenges, are not discouraged, from using the technology. So that's about design thinking. That we call, and so we can talk about UX, which is mainly design experience, that is user experience, and then UI, and that is user interface. So in a nutshell, when you look at these technologies are mainly forming the bedrock of digital transformation all over the world. You understand? So big data, how you are getting the most from your company data, artificial intelligence, how you are using automated systems, to get things done, machine learning, how you are coming up with algorithms that are able to do better prediction of, 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 of things in your company. And then cloud services, how you're able to save data, using a third-party system. Blockchain, how you're able to encrypt information. And cybersecurity, how you're able to protect your systems, from several attacks. Design thinking is mainly user experience and then user interface. So we'll move on to talk about one major aspect of our presentation, and that is e-commerce in Africa. So you know that after will soon launch, the operationalization of AFTA will soon begin. So AFTA, if you've not heard, is the African Free Continental Trade Area, which means that most countries in Africa have agreed to trade among themselves, bringing down trade barriers like tariffs and duties and all that, so that if you have a manufacturing company in Ghana and produces goods in Ghana, you can ship to South Africa without paying, import tax, right? And that is supposed to make us competitive and be able to trade, among ourselves in Africa. And this, of course, is going to bring about a lot of opportunities. Now, e-commerce is going to play a big role in this because take the likes of Alibaba and understand now people all over the world can place their orders using this platform. Understand? So if you have a manufacturing company, you have a service company, and you don't have presence on an e-commerce platform, then you will find that people, when they need to buy any products to either sell or use in their countries, would consider companies that have presence or that has e-commerce, that have e-commerce platforms. You understand? So luckily on our continent, you already have an e-commerce platform doing quite well. You can talk about Jumia that sells almost everything. So you have Jumia Nigeria, Jumia Ghana, and then you can place your orders online, and then you'll be able to buy online. So what happens is that they are the Jumia as a company partners with suppliers and so that they can list their products on their platforms, and people when they order would then companies or suppliers will be able to ship to the customers directly. And so I would encourage us to think through the revolution of Alibaba that began, in a very small way at a point in time when, I was Alibaba's effort was negligible. Most companies were not paying attention to it. But when it grew in size, now I'm not sure excuse my language, any wise leader or company in China would shun the Alibaba platform. Almost all viable or serious companies have their presence on the Alibaba platform. That is, all manufacturers in China, you will find their presence on Alibaba. And it makes it easier. You understand? Now, buying e-commerce is not only about affording players the opportunity to buy and sell. We're also looking at payment systems. You understand? So we have innovations like an Alipay that now makes it possible to pay customers or to pay for transactions online. And that brings us to a very important area that would come up in terms of after. Okay, we are talking about digital payment systems. We should get to a position where we can pay for our transactions online, and this is already happening. Now you can pay for most transactions online. You can use a mobile money platform. There are so many payment systems that are upcoming now, and you can talk about Express Pay. You can also talk about some other platforms. So your concern as a business leader when it comes to these areas is that one, you need to consider the e-commerce platforms to ensure that you have good presence on the platform, and then also when it comes to payment systems, that you are sure you have an integrated system where when customers want to pay you, they will not always be writing checks, or they will not always be coming to your premises to make physical cash payment. They can either use their credit or debit cards to make payments online, and it makes it faster. And think about it. If a customer goes online, one offers the opportunity to pay online using the credit or debit card, and you demand that they may come to your office or come to your premises to make payment, trust me, you will lose business. So that's the essence. Later on, there's a lot to talk about e-commerce in Africa when it comes to after opportunities. But because of time, these are the areas that we can talk about. Very well. So all this great talk, why at all do we need digital transformation, right? Now, digital transformation is impacting society, and we talk about the fourth industrial revolution. A short history, we had moved from the industrial revolution where we started producing goods, using manufacturing. We had to move from the agricultural agrarian era where we used to produce for subsistence consumption. And then we moved to an era where we're manufacturing, and producing on a large scale. So that was also a technological revolution on its own. You understand? Now we are talking about the fourth industrial revolution, which talks about the digital transformation. It's mainly when you talk about fourth industrial revolution, you can talk about industry 4.0, meaning that everything we are trying to do now, we are trying to automate most of our systems using robotics, using monitoring systems, when it comes to the manufacturing sector, and then also leveraging the internet to come up with services that we can provide online. And doing this has conquered a lot of problems, you understand? And unfortunately, should we even say fortunately, the COVID situation has made us appreciate the essence of some of these technology. So just as you can see on the screen, or on this slide, we can talk about these core areas. Why we need to embark on digital transformation as business people. And if you're a business leader, you must stop, think, and know how you're going to digitally transform your business. So we can talk about the first element. Sometimes in most of the businesses, definitely you have people um, to make your business work for you. So you would consider empowering your employees, making sure that they have digital skills. And when your employees have digital skills, meaning that they can use electronic communication, they can use project communication tools like Trello and Slack. They can use Google Suites. They can use Microsoft 360. And you are very sure that because they are digitally skilled, you would be able to improve on your service delivery. All right. And also, digital transformation means that you'll be able to engage your customers using technology. So, meaning that you can have people visiting your website for transactions rather than instead of they coming to your physical office location. And when they visit your site, you have the opportunity to also engage them and find out whether they are satisfied with your service. You'll be able to know what works for your customers and what really don't work for them using technology platforms like e-commerce platforms, on and on. And then you optimize your operations. So digital transformation means that you need to really consider um, looking at your operational processes so that you can maximize your operational systems. So you have to look at places or areas where you can bring in automation to enhance productivity and cut down waste. And then you also have the opportunity to transform your product. If you're offering a service and in itself is a product, you can use technology to enhance that product, make it more convenient in terms of access to customers. People can now order your wines, people can now order your books, people can now order anything online. And what you are talking about is also the transactional process. You understand that now customers can fill out forms, maybe inquiry forms, or they can sign agreements online. So, for example, you have Regus. The head of Regus is an office space company. Now we call that shared office space services company. So it means that companies can pay and book space for meetings and all that. Now you can book your office space online. You can have the agreement sent to you via email or on their website. You can review and even sign the document online and send it. And all this can be done within a very short time using technology. And it saves the customer's time, you know, because old method would have required the customer to visit your office, okay? Would require the customers to manually fill out forms, and then, will be sent for approval. But now most of these can be done online. You can have even loans approved online after a customer fills in a form. So digital transformation it's important for every business person to consider and take advantage of and to ensure they do it properly. Mainly because one, it can empower your employees. Two, you can deploy technology to engage your customers properly, and then you can optimize your operations and transform your service or your product. And with all this, initially, as I explained, the bedrock of it is the risk and opportunity of digital disruption. That because your industry can be overturned overnight, you've got to be in the know. You know what you can do ahead of time to save your company or to take advantage of whatever disruption that might occur because of new technologies. All the new technologies we talked about already. We talk about data, talk about artificial intelligence, about blockchain, talk about cybersecurity, web technology, e-commerce. These are all technological changes that we can take advantage of to make our products and services better for our clients, to ensure that we get the optimal result from our employees, to ensure that we engage our customers properly, on and on. So that is the case for embarking on a digital transformation journey as a business leader. Now, a major aspect, this is where it gets interesting because there's one thing knowing about what is happening in your industry, knowing about the technological trends, and it's also one thing knowing about how to take advantage of the trends, how to use such opportunities, to the advantage of your business. So it boils down to coming up with a strategy, okay, when it comes to digital transformation, that you would want to assess your business and then find out how you can use technology to make it better, to make it profitable, to make it sustainable so that it will be relevant in your industry. So we can talk about, consider now when it comes to digital transformation strategy, we can't talk about all the elements because of time, but we will touch on the key elements. So you would have to look at your internal and external customers. When we talk about internal customers, you're going to talk about your employees, how you ensure that customers internally, employees to employee, provide seamless input, okay, into other employees' offering. So you need team A to be able to work efficiently so that team B can efficiently also provide their services. So you then have to assess and evaluate what team A does and how they can make it better using technology, how to reduce time. For example, if the frontline service workers will need approval from the back office or from the operational team. Okay, if for example you're a finance company and you have to approve a credit, the frontline or the relationship managers would need, or the credit managers would need approval. Okay, so you implement technological systems or software systems that would ensure that you reduce transactional costs and you also reduce time. Then you can talk about your external customers, which probably might be the most important customers that you would want to consider. And you want to know how you can make their lives better. You can provide better services. And that will get you thinking on the strategies or technological platforms to use. So for example, if you're in the retail industry, you would want to consider having an e-commerce platform where customers can conveniently place orders of their goods, understand, and make it simple for them to get your product. And mind you, you're looking at ensuring that they are satisfied. So even in when you deploy technology, you have to look at it bit by bit at every stage of the process that you put in place. How is it delivering value to your customers? So if you look at Amazon, for example, you can place orders for your goods online, and then they provide a tracking service where you're able to track your goods. You know where it has reached every point in time. If there's a challenge, there'll be a communication. There's a communication system built into it that you'll be notified, and then they would cooperate with you to solve whatever problem there is. So that is one key area to look at or to consider. Look at your internal and then external customer, and then consider what you can do to make their life simple or easier. And then also looking at customer value creation levers and platforms. So that links up to the first point. So in terms of digital, when before you think of coming up with a strategy, your main driver, okay, or your main motivation is looking for value. What value can you create for your customers? You understand, using the technology platforms. What convenience can you offer? All right. What cost savings can you offer your customers by deploying your technology platforms? And then you also have to consider user experience and user interface. They are key consideration. As I said, you just don't set up a technology interface just because everybody is doing it. But if you put up a website, you must ensure that when your customers visit your website, okay, the way it is designed, the colors, their navigation system is very convenient for them. Understand? That means that you will have to do a lot of tests and experiment to ensure you use real customers as case studies to know whether what you put in place is appropriate for them. And then we can also think about take advantage of our COVID situation to motivate us to be much more innovative. If now customers don't want to go out and have a lot of engagement within the public, then you as a business person must start thinking about how you can still reach your customers with your services and make it much convenient for them and help them avoid some of these risks. So that, of course, means that you need to think of ensuring you have a payment system that does not require them to come to your office to make payment. You have receipts and invoice systems that you can move onto the electronic platforms to ensure that all transactions can be done online. And you also sometimes would have to even think of training your customers to be able to use the digital platforms, because what's the point if you introduce it and some customers are not savvy and they're having difficulties using your technology or your innovation? So it means that you must have support systems to also help customers use your technology when you deploy them. Another key consideration, of course, is to ensure that you have digital service excellence philosophy underlining your strategy. You understand? So because technology in itself has a potential of giving so much problems, a lot of problems, to companies. You understand? Because of sometimes if you're using internet, there's what we call the downtime. There's also inherent technical problems with devices and all that. Now, if you don't have the service excellence philosophy, which means that you would want your customer to have a seamless and a smooth experience when they use your technology platforms, then you might just implement a strategy that also becomes, that creates a whole new challenge, for you and your customers in terms of systems that don't work, delays in processes because of technical problems, and that will be a major problem. So this is what we can talk about. These are some of the key considerations that one can think about when it comes to DT strategy. Now, there are other elements where you have to talk about change management. These are traditional notions that must be considered because you just cannot implement technological changes into your organization and you expect people to fall in line. You have to go through the change management process, which you must know. But because of time, these are the key considerations that we can talk about when it comes to implementing a digital transformation strategy. Thank you very much. At this moment, there's an opportunity for question and answer. So if anything bothers your mind, I'll now take your questions and then provide answers to them. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful experience. It's been a wonderful experience presenting this information to you. Again, I'm with IDEC Digital Excellence Center, IDEC Consultancies, which is a center that sits with IDEC Consultancies International Limited. And mainly we offer digital strategy consulting. So if you want to embark on digital transformation and you want to be guided through it, we are available to help you have a seamless and a profitable and a gainful digital transformation experience. Also, we offer big data consulting. We also offer managed IT support services. And we also will provide you industry watch and insight reports. So you can visit our website, dec-idec.com for more information. You can always reach out to me, Gideon Oforio Sabate, at IDEC, and then would be glad to help you with any challenge that you might have. Thank you very much for paying attention to this presentation. Thank you.